One day, my grandmother, we were at a convenience store and I saw this rack of comic books. And
Mm.
so she bought one for me. And then the next thing you know, I was so enthralled with the panels, the imagery and everything. So that actually was a catalyst to me wanting to know what characters were saying in the bubbles and everything.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am so excited about my guest today. His name is Craig Ballard. He's out of Hanover, Maryland, in the Washington, D.C. area. And you're going to learn why he is so successful in his business, his Color Urbanus business. He's going to tell us all about that. He's a father. He'll tell us a little bit about his family. So I want to get started. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to meet Mr. Craig Ballard.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you, Craig.
Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, you are so welcome. I love to talk to people from diverse walks of life about how literacy impacts them. And we have a mutual friend, and she told me, oh, you've got to interview Craig because comic books shaped his literacy. I said, oh, that's amazing. I know comic books are very important, especially for young men. Can you tell us more about that?
Sure. At a very young age, I had difficulty reading, actually, with dyslexia. And so I was raised by my grandparents, and doing that, that actually helped in me learning to master certain words. And surprisingly enough, you'll be amazed how many 3-4 syllable words and very complex words are in comic books.
I have noticed that. That is a great resource for vocabulary building. I have noticed that.
Exactly. And
beyond the pow, the wow. There's
exactly. And so actually reading comic books, I built up a pretty good vocabulary just reading comic books over time. And so that actually helped me transition into just reading books in general, especially when you have academic assignments from teachers where there aren't any images to go along with the words. That made the transition of reading short stories and novels easier for me, because by the time I got older into high school and college, I'd now mastered the English language. And so when I went through testing, when I got older, they found that my reading level was 1 or 2 grades above the norm. So thankfully, because of my grandmother getting me comic books, because she would actually buy me a comic book almost every week. And
That's
currently
good.
I have about 2,000 comic books.
No, wait, don't tell. You still have them?
I still have them.
What kind of genres are they? What kind? Marvel? What are you talking about?
Marvel, DC, mainly. Some horror comic books, but mainly my favorites were Marvel and DC heroes, because especially with Marvel comic books, because Marvel always created storylines where they were more relatable to what's going on in society. For example, the X-Men really touched on discrimination. Spider-Man touched on the awkwardness of a teenager trying to navigate life as a teenager in high school and dealing with bullying or what have you. So that's one thing I really appreciated with the founder of Marvel comic books, Stan Lee. He really scripted a lot of the comic books so readers such as myself, because comic books go beyond just kids reading them. A lot of adults read them also, to where you can relate what's going on in the comic book to the real world. Yeah, that relatability actually made it easier to understand certain concepts and dynamics that occur when you actually read any type of material. So surprisingly enough, my background is art, communications, and the lot. And by the time I got to college, I ended up being an English major. Go figure.
Well, let me stop you for a minute, because early on, you said you had dyslexia. I mean, I know it comes in different forms, but did that get resolved?
Yes, it did. It did over time, and with therapy and just the fact that I think I pushed myself more than anything to overcome it. Because
was it the type where you saw the letters reversed or?
Exactly.
It was that okay?
Yeah,
because there's different forms.
Right. And growing up on Eastern Shore of Maryland during that time era, there weren't really the type of resources that we may have today, like for my girls, my twin daughters, because I know one of my daughters, she also struggles with that. And at that time, it was just with the help of teachers, because I had a lot of good teachers who wanted to invest in my success, in my academic success, and not to mention other people in the community. The church I went to was actually right beside the university I attended. And so a lot of members of that church were college professors and the president of the university and other educators of higher learning. So they were also mentors also in my success in learning. And one of my cousins, she was a school teacher, actually, and her husband, also my cousin, he was the actual superintendent of the public county school system at the time. And so since we were neighbors, they always were asking me, how am I doing in school? And when you have those type of people who are invested in your success, you don't want to disappoint them. And they would always have an open door policy. If you have any trouble learning or reading or what have you, come by our house and we'll help you out, in which they did. And so, like they say, it takes a village to raise a child. And I can truly say I had a village around me as far as my upbringing is concerned.
See, I love that question. I still ask kids that today. Once a teacher, always a teacher. So I'm going to ask, how are you doing in school?
Right.
And I love how your mentors follow through and open the door. If you have any trouble, I'm going to help you. So that is so great, Craig. Let's move on. You said you went on ahead and finished high school and went on to college because of the graphic novels or comic books. You were always interested in art. And how did that flow into you developing your company today? Tell us about your company that you own.
Okay, well, my company is Color Urbanus. It is a full service marketing and communications business. And in the capacity, our offerings are website development, graphics design, advertising, public relations. Wow, what else?
That's broad already. Wow.
Yeah, pretty much we try to cover the full gamut of everything that we do. So our clients are from nonprofit organizations to small businesses to large businesses and even at times government entities. So I started the company in 2004 when funny thing, I started it in my apartment back in the 90s when I was still playing around with the idea of venturing out on my own as far as being an entrepreneur. But then over time, as I owned my skills and started becoming more immersed into my profession of marketing and communications, then it got to the point where I said, hey, you know what? I want to step out on faith and do my own thing. And so I've had well over 100 clients so far in my over 20 plus years with the company. And I love it. Nothing better than waking up every morning and doing something you love. And I have a passion for that.
And I think about all this beautiful work you're doing in marketing. You couldn't have done that if you were not a literate person.
Correct.
And at that point, when you started your company, you were probably fully confident as a literate person compared to your younger self.
Correct. And with any company, you have to sell yourself. And in order to sell yourself, you have to be able to know how to speak the language to tug at the heartstrings of your prospective client in order to let them know, hey, we are the company that can serve your needs. And one of the things I normally ask people are, what's your vision? And kind of like the movie Jerry Maguire, help me help you. So in that capacity, especially in the field of communications, because my background was also in communications, it helped me be able to better articulate myself and to also be able to write copy to position where we are and what we do and how we can best bring back the best return on investment for each company.
How would you talk to young people today who, and especially, there's the stat that young Black boys are not interested in reading. How would you talk to young people today to get interested in reading and find some value in it?
I would say, I believe everyone has something that interests them, be it sports, be it entertainment, be it science, be it mathematics. You have to find a common denominator somewhere to help you build upon the strengths that you already have. And I
Oh,
believe
that's,
that for
yeah.
every challenge, there's always a solution. And most importantly, if you have a passion for something, hone in on that passion and then help build from there. And it doesn't hurt to seek out people who can help you grow in your profession and help you grow your academic. Because I believe that every child has an opportunity for greatness. And most importantly, it does take having a mentor or mentors and people who are invested in your academic interests. So for young boys, I would always encourage them to seek out a mentor. Find someone who can help guide you in the right direction if you have a vision, if you have a dream, or what have you. Because I truly believe that your circle of friends make or break you.
Wow. Yeah.
They can take you to great heights, or they can take you to the bottom of the pit. And so really surround yourself with positive people, and at the same time, keep a positive attitude about things. Because when you look at famous people such as, let's say Kwesi Mfume, Dr. Ben Carson, or Judge Mathis, when you look at the backgrounds they came from, they overcame those challenges.
Absolutely.
And look where they are now. One is a doctor, one is a judge, one is a state politician or U.S. politician, or former. But they had people around them who believed in them. And the first thing, you have to believe in yourself. And so with that, as far as literacy, I encourage every child to find something that gives you a passion to read about. Because if you love sport, go to the library or go online to find a book about sports. I love to encourage children to actually go to the library. Internet's there, it's accessible, but sometimes it's just good to go to the library, find a good read, and be able to soak it all in, be it a magazine, everything.
Okay, so it sounds like you had a library card when you were growing up.
I did quite a few.
Okay, and now you've got some young daughters. How old are they?
They're 11 years old. I have twin girls.
And so I'm sure you're encouraging them to get a library card and read. And so you can pass this legacy on.
Exactly. And we do go to the library every week. And it's funny because when I take them there, they act like kids in a candy store. Yeah, they love going to the library. They love finding books, and we'll check out a plethora of books, and I encourage them to read them. And then the thing is to make sure that they're on the reading level that we want them to be is.
Oh, okay.
What my wife and I will do, we'll tell them, okay, here are the library books. We want you to read them. And then I want you to come back and tell us about the story that you read or about the book that you read. So we can have a healthy discussion about what the theme of the book was and what did you learn from reading that particular book. So that actually helps a lot in a child's reading also, to be able to discuss.
Because you're bringing in that element of reading comprehension. It's more than just reading the words, comprehending. I love that, Craig.
Exactly. And believe it or not, I take them to the comic book store. So I treat them every month to going to a comic book store in Annapolis, Maryland, and they're in there all excited, and they'll get their comic book. And so it's like history is repeating itself again.
Oh my goodness. I love that. Well, as we close, I just wanted you to share, why do you think literacy is important in the world, for your community, for your employees? Why do you think literacy is important?
I think literacy is important because reading is the key to knowledge. It's definitely the key to knowledge. And if you are not able to read, it's going to be very hard to navigate yourself through society. And I emphasize this a lot with my girls, that this is important. This is the importance of reading, because being able to read, you'll know how to take care of yourself. You will know where to go in the world. You will know how to be able to articulate yourself in certain situations as you grow into young ladies and then into adulthood. And literacy is just important, not only academically, but professionally, because you may be thrust into a situation where, let's just say hypothetically, a boss gives you an assignment and they tell you, okay, I need you to go through this information and then come back to me with what we can do to come up with a solution based on this information. If you're not able to
Sure.
read that information, then how are you going to come up with a solution? So
Right.
literacy is just important in all aspects, not only in our country, but throughout the world, because it actually helps to be able to effectively communicate and come up with viable solutions for everyone.
Well, thank you so much, Craig Ballard. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been listening to Craig Ballard. He's from Hanover, Maryland, the Washington, D.C. area, a very successful businessman and family man, father, and he has shared his thoughts on literacy. And I hope you've gotten some very good nuggets of what he shared. Thank you so much, Craig, for joining me today. I really appreciate it. Bye.
And thank you, Linda. It's been an honor.